I think when it comes to the most important thing for me to remember as a church planter, I go to 2 Timothy chapter 2. And there's the words of Paul there to Timothy, advice from the Apostle Paul to Timothy, the young pastor. And in 2 Timothy 2:8, there's this amazing verse where Paul tells Timothy in chapter 2, verse 8, remember Jesus Christ, risen from the dead, the offspring of David, as preached in my gospel. That's an amazing verse when you think about it. The Apostle Paul is telling Timothy, a pastor, to remember Jesus. And obviously the reason he must be saying that is because in the throes of ministry, in the pressures of ministry, we can forget Jesus. And if that's true of pastoral ministry, it's especially true of church planting. There are so many variables, so many things that can go so many different ways that before you know it, you can lose sight. You can forget Jesus. And so coming back to Paul's words, remember Jesus Christ. And the question is, well, how then? How do we remember Jesus? Well, we commune with Him in the Word. We lean on Him in times of hardship and trouble. I think about Paul's words in 2 Timothy 4:17 when in one of the lowest points of his life, when Paul says that everyone has deserted him, he says in chapter 4, verse 17, but the Lord Jesus stood by me and strengthened me. So in some way, Jesus, the Lord, stood by Paul in the midst of his hardship, which means that for Paul, Jesus was not just an idea. Jesus was not just a character on a page. Jesus was not just some historical figure who made an impact, but Jesus was a real person. And so when it comes to how do we remember Jesus, I think simply we remember that Jesus is real. He's a real person. Even in fact, right now in this very moment, Jesus is more real and more alive than you are and than I am. Jesus is a real person. So we don't know what it looks like. We don't know exactly how he looks or what it's like, but we know He's in a body. And we know that He's in a body. He must have a heart that beats and lungs that breathe. And that's happening right now. Jesus right now is in a body with a beating heart and lungs that breathe. And He cares about what we're doing here. And so as a pastor, as a church planter, it's remembering that. It's the prayer that I've prayed most consistently every day for the past 4 years now as a church planter is, Jesus, be more real to me than anything else. Because that's the biggest problem, right? The biggest problem we face is when things are bigger to us, more real to us than Jesus. And so I just pray, Jesus, be more real to me today than anything else. And that's, I think, 2 Timothy 2:8, remember Jesus Christ. This is what Paul tells Timothy. I think it's good advice for any church planter.